So this is lesson number 68 in Algebra 1, more about complex fractions. So lesson 68. Alright, this lesson will quite possibly take 2 videos. We'll see, just because I have to talk a lot. When we have a fraction that looks like this, there's my fraction line. Alright, so let's talk about this for a minute. This is called a complex fraction because we have fractions within fractions. This line right here is my main fraction line, or you could call it a division line if you want. And there is a fraction in the numerator, in fact 2 of them added together, and there are fractions in the denominator added together. Now, the rule that I put in here as far as simplifying these is that you don't do anything with fractions up here and up here, mixing the two, until everything on the top is done, everything on the bottom is done, and then you go across this pink fraction line. Other than that, you don't cross the line. Alright, so one of the things that you have to make sure of is you never do anything with this numerators and these denominators until this is one fraction and this down here is one fraction. So once they're each one fraction, then you can compare this with this down here. But until then, you focus just on the numerator and just on the denominator, and you don't do anything between the two. So in order to make that one fraction, you first of all have to make sure you have common denominators, which in this case we have common denominators here and common denominators there. So let's go ahead and write those as one fraction. When we have common denominators, we can put the numerators together over one denominator that they have in common. Okay, fraction line, and let's do the same on the bottom. Okay, notice, I don't know why I made a cursive y here and a regular y there. Anyway, and I did that here too. Weird. Alright, so notice I put the numerators together as x minus 1 over the common denominator. Now I have one fraction here, and you can tell because I have one fraction line, whereas over here I had one, and over in here I had one. So I had 2 fraction lines, but here I only have one. Same with this. Once I get one fraction over another fraction, then I can invert and multiply, which means I take this fraction, turn it upside down, and multiply it by that one. So I've got x plus 1 over y, which is this here. Now I'm going to multiply by this one turned upside down. And then I have, multiply those out, I'm just going to write them as that, just to show I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to show I'm going to multiply that. Alright, notice what I have here. I have a y here being multiplied by this, a y here being multiplied by this, which means I can cancel those two out. And there's nothing I can do with that. So I'm done. It's x plus y over x minus y. Okay? Alright, so let's see if I can get rid of a bunch of this stuff, and we can do another one. Let's take example 68.2. 1 plus 1 over x over 7. Alright, so on the bottom, I only have one fraction. I don't have multiple fractions. I just have one number, so I don't do anything there. But here, I've got a plus sign, and here I have a denominator of x, and here I basically have 1 over 1, right? So I need to take my 1 over 1 plus my 1 over x. Add those together so that I just have one fraction. Alright, so let me erase that, write it again here. 1 over 1 plus 1 over x. And that's all over 7. We'll just drag the 7 along so we don't forget it. Alright, we don't have common denominators. So I look here and I say I have a 1 here, but what am I missing that's over here? I'm missing an x, so I multiply this by an x and the top by an x. So whatever I'm missing here, I put over here and up here. Whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. Now I look here and say, what am I missing here that I have over here? Well, a 1, but, you know, 1 isn't going to change anything. I mean, I can put a 1 here if you want, a 1 times a 1, but, you know, 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times x is still x, but let's put it that way just so you know that we did that. Alright, so this times this is x. This times this, we get that, and then we can rewrite it now that we have common denominators as x plus 1 over x. So that's how you write that, over 7. And let's write that as 7 over 1, just so that we have a fraction on top and a fraction on the bottom. Alright, so remember the rule I said, once you get common denominators, once you have one fraction here and one fraction there, you take the bottom number, invert it, turn it upside down, and multiply. And this then goes away. Okay, so now let's multiply numerators. 1 times x plus 1, and let's multiply denominators. We can get rid of that, and we have the answer, x plus 1 over 7x. And remember, you cannot cancel this and this, because anytime a letter or number is being added to something, you can't cancel the number or the letter. You can only cancel the entire thing. See, I put grouping symbols in here, meaning they cannot be separated. So I can't cancel this x with this x. Now, if it were grouped together as an x plus 1 on the bottom, then I could cancel that and that. But because I don't have the x plus 1 on the bottom, I can't cancel anymore, so I am done with that one. So this problem, example 68.3, if you look on top, we have one fraction. There's nothing to combine, so we're not going to do anything with that. So we're going to just work with the bottom here. Alright, so my 1 over x doesn't do anything, and let's just work on the bottom. Try to get it to be one fraction. Alright, so I'm going to make this a 1 over 1, and what am I missing here that I have here? I'm missing an x, right? So I put an x there, and whatever I do on the bottom, I put on the top. Okay, over here, what am I missing? Well, I'm missing a 1, but a 1 isn't going to change anything, so I don't have to do anything. So I have an x, or a 1x, minus 1, and I can put those together because my denominators are the same, so I put them all over x. So now I have one fraction on the bottom and one fraction on top, which means I'm ready for the next step, which says I can invert and multiply. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to multiply. So let's see what we get when we do that. So we have 1 times x, and we have these multiplied. So x times, it's not just, don't write this right here as x times x minus 1. That's not what we have. We have x times the group, or the quantity, x minus 1. So we have that. Okay, now look what we've got here. I've got an x here, and I've got an x here. Notice this x is multiplied, so I can cancel. So I'm going to cancel that with that. Alright, notice the problem here. I have an x minus 1 on the bottom, and what do I have on top? I just canceled everything on top. Well, whenever you cancel everything on top, it's always, 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 you're going to put a 1 there. You can't have nothing on top. You can't have 0 on top. So if you take away everything on top, you always put a 1 up there, and then that ends up being your answer. Okay, so we have 2 more examples, so I'm going to go ahead and start a second video on lesson 68, and we'll finish up.